Imagine getting crushed and broken down every single night for 12 long years of pure despair. Then the unthinkable happens, and just like that, everything changed. The nightmare bleeds into reality and he collapses, completely drained, waking up once more in that shadowy abyss. Except now, the rules of the game just changed. He's done running away like some mid-scared target, absorbing the essence of the beasts that hunted him down. This guy hits an awakening, unlocking some dark, ridiculously OP power. What used to be an endless punishment just turned into a massive power spike for a ruthless predator. Time to see how this former joke of a fighter is gonna dominate this world and wipe the floor with anyone in his way, so drop a like. To kick things off, we see this bizarre place with twisted trees and dark moss. Looking up, the sky is completely cloudy and gloomy. This whole area is packed with creatures you'd never imagine seeing, almost becoming monster food. Jin lets out a frustrated yell. In a flash, the beast lunges to swallow him whole. Things get super tense, and right then, he thinks if this is the end. Turns out, the whole thing was just a bizarre dream. Gasping for air, our guy remembers this has been happening for 12 years. 12 whole years of feeling the pain of biting the dust every single night. Meanwhile, city life outside just goes on like normal. Wasting no time, he writes down the beast's weak spots in his notebook. Our MC gets up and claims he's already used to the pain of getting wiped out. Except, staring at his messy room, he realizes the worst part of it all. For him, trying to catch some sleep became a heavy punishment. Whenever he closes his eyes, he drops right back into that nightmare. Then, getting taken out in the dream wakes him right back up in his room. Because of that, getting a decent night's rest turned into an impossible luxury. Jin scoffs, losing all patience with this endless routine of suffering. Determined to break the cycle, he spent 12 years training combat and survival, all so he doesn't get caught off guard when he goes back to the other side. Thanks to all that effort, the kid actually started surviving longer over there. Yet as soon as he wakes up for real, the struggle continues. His biggest problem is still the heavy insomnia. Suddenly, he remembers a doctor's advice to find a hobby and chill out. Thinking for a second, he tries to figure out what he actually likes. The truth is, his only wish right now is to just pass out. He just wants a deep, peaceful sleep for once in his life. Out of nowhere, his nose starts bleeding. Right after that, the bleeding gets worse and his body hits the floor. Fading out slowly, his mind tries to process what's happening. Collapsed, completely motionless in his own blood. And then, his vision goes pitch black. In the middle of the darkness, confusion hits about what's going on. His entire body starts feeling super light. Suddenly, all that exhaustion just vanishes. Taking a deep breath, he feels actual rest for the first time in 12 years. From there, he wonders if he really reached the end of the line. Opening his eyes, the scenery around him can only be the exact nightmare world leaning against a tree trunk. Our boy notices he's back in the place where he suffered his whole life. Man, right now his instincts are screaming in high alert. A giant wizard-type monster is right behind him, making things tense. Focused entirely, the beast looks like it's searching for something. He thinks back on the damage that happened in his real room, and that's where it gets crazy. He realizes he probably passed away in real life. Now things are dead serious because the rules of the game just changed. Standing up slowly, he understands there's nowhere to run if he loses. Without hesitating, he declares this hell is his new home. Face to face, his mind is already drawing up a survival plan. Smart move would be running to a bright area that keeps the beasts away. But the kid just freezes in place, gripping his weapon tight. He doesn't understand the urge growing inside. He's just tired of turning his back and running away. Catching his presence, the massive monster locks eyes with our MC. Jin even wonders if this courage comes from a good sleep or his new body. Fearless, he gets into position to face the beast. At that moment, the giant lizard roars and charges, going all out. Clutching his sword, every single muscle is boiling with adrenaline. This wild instinct tells the kid to step up to the clash and secure his life, launching a brutal attack. Locked into the action, the MC checks the damage he just dealt. That impact completely shattered the beast's defense. Game over for the creature, dropping lifeless while he takes a breath. Soon after, the sky starts brightening up. Rushing over, he approaches the body to investigate. He cuts open the carcass looking for the monster core. Finding it, Jin picks it up, stopping to take a closer look. The monster core glows right there in his hand. Without a second thought, he just swallows the thing whole. Gulped down, he scans the layout of the forest. Face covered in dirt, he swears he'll force his way through this nightmare. Walking away from there, he starts thinking about his next move. His first goal is to find a safe zone to avoid surprises. A little while later, he stops by a tree to catch his breath. Quietness fills the forest, with a gentle breeze blowing by. closing his eyes right there. He just takes in the whole vibe. Our MC ends up dozing off on the spot. Waking up, it feels like he just slept like a king. 30 days had passed since crossing over to this universe. During all this time, he only marched toward the lit areas. He even keeps it real. Wanting to fight doesn't make him reckless. After all, playing with danger for no reason is crazy. But his blood always boils when a clash is near. Fights only happen out of necessity, and right now hunger is hitting hard. Going on the offensive, he doesn't miss his chance against the target in his way. One more good reason to brawl is absorbing the creature's essence. Showing zero mercy, he chews on the core of yet another prey. This weird little snack is a serious power spike from the defeated target. Eating these stones made adapting to the wild way easier. There's also one crucial detail in the middle of all this. Looking at his dog tag, he realizes he's a third-class mercenary. The wildest part is being able to read the engraved language perfectly. Holding a crafted artifact like this in his own hands confirms a massive suspicion in our MC's head. Civilization exists in this world. Further ahead, a flash catches his eye on the trail. Someone forged that, proving civilization is out there. Stopping in his tracks, the scene catches him completely off guard. Right up ahead, there's a serious trap set up in the dirt. Jin spots right away that this is human engineering. And this is where it gets good. The natural conclusion to all this. Contact with other people is about to go down. He sprints toward the flash. Stepping out of the dark woods, he runs right into a cabin. Stunned, the kid can't believe his eyes. Wasting no time, he knocks right on the door. Calling out to check for anyone and getting no answer, he just walks right in. Inside, an old book is resting on the table. Jin grabs the thing and studies the cover carefully. Reading the title, he asks, "Chronicles of the Demon Realm?" That catches the boy way off guard. After all, the whole history and rules of the place are right there in those pages. It hits him that he really needs this journal to survive. Right then, the wooden door gives a loud creak. A hooded guy shows up asking who he is. Aiming a crossbow, the guy threatens to fire if he doesn't answer. Deep down, the MC is happy to see people, but thinks there's a mix-up. Raising his hands, he explains he only checked out the isolated cabin out of curiosity. But the old man is harsh, telling him to bounce because they have nothing to talk about. Jin agrees peacefully, pretending he's gonna leave. Before heading out, he puts his hand over the cover. With zero shame, he asks to borrow the thing and even offers payment. The old-timer glares back and fires. "What if I say no?" Truth is, the kid needs that manual to avoid getting wiped out in this world. Hand glued to his sword, the decision is pretty much made. He might have to act like a real mugger. Both get into a fighting stance, locking eyes. Loading up the crossbow, the tension is through the roof. Without knowing the old man's strength, the boy is sure he won't lose here. Silence takes over the room for a few 10 seconds. Soon the hunter breaks the ice with a smirk. Admitting no thief, asks to read. The old-timer introduces himself as Hector. Jin notices things cool down and drops his own name, Kim Woo-jin. To make things easier, the MC asks to just go by his nickname. The host warns the book stays there, but lets the kid read it in the cabin. But of course there's a price, demanding help with chores in exchange for the favor. Thanks to that, our boy earns a temporary roof over his head, spending the night right there, settling into the house. He realizes the owner is rough around the edges, but has a good heart and offers some grub. Man, emotions hit hard seeing a warm soup after so long. Tasting the food, he even thinks the old man is an angel. Getting ready to leave, the old-timer gets asked by our MC where he's heading. Hector replies he's on a revenge mission against a terrible beast. Seeing a strong guy like that sweating cold makes our kid a bit suspicious. The target is clearly built different, and he just watches the old-timer walk away. Alone in the house, he dives deep into reading the chronicles. The book explains the whole mess started back in the Northern Empire, all thanks to a greedy king who opened a gate to another world. Rumor has it, this rift hid the truth of the universe and some cracked power, but that's where the end of the world truly began. From inside, a horde of monstrous beasts leaked out. 9 years was all it took for the northern region to become a demonic paradise. Trying to survive, humanity formed the Alliance of Order and built walls. Closing the book, the kid's head is spinning with info. He gets that the knowledge here is pure gold. However, logic kicks in. The further from the darkness, the weaker the creatures get. Outside, Hector is running like a madman through the trees heading back home. Jin has no idea the dangerous hole he fell into at the start. Gasping for air, the hunter slows his pace, exhausted. And that's where it gets crazy. A whole pack of wolves surrounds the old-timer. Sweating cold, he raises his weapon, shaking with tension, with giant beasts inching closer, ready to end him on the spot. In a swift move, he turns quickly and gets in position to attack, instantly firing a rain of arrows everywhere. But the monster leading the pack tanks the arrows like it's nothing. Hector curses, seeing that the attack didn't even scratch it. In a flash, he goes back to running toward the cabin. Hearing the noise, our MC steps out of the cabin already holding his sword. The old man yells at the kid to run away and save his own skin. However, the boy ignores the warning and charges to face the beasts. The old-timer is in sheer disbelief, thinking the kid is running straight to his doom. Our MC locks his gaze on the monster in front of him. In a quick motion, he jumps toward his first target. Already midair, gripping his sword tight, ready to strike, the big wolf comes down, driving a heavy attack right into the beast. The impact is so heavy, it tears the creature in half like paper, just slicing it from top to bottom, finishing the job. With that, the body drops hard and the rest of the pack backs away scared. One of the beasts, looking like a creepy fox, growls defensively. Hector's jaw drops, unable to believe the wild stunt he just witnessed. Staring at the monster's remains, his mind freezes. Was that just one hit? Playing it cool, our boy calls out to the old-timer, who was still in shock. Face covered in the messy aftermath, he asks if that beast was strong. The hunter doesn't even know what to reply, shocked by the weird question. Stuttering a bit, he confirms the beast was wildly dangerous. He just nods, acting with some otherworldly coldness, already turning to the rest of the pack to finish the job. The wolves prep to charge all at once. Weighing the risks, there's 40 beasts, so one mistake could mean game over. To end this quick, the tactic is taking down the leader and breaking their spirit. Jin sharpens his stance to put this messy plan into action. He soon spots the perfect target, the giant alpha right on the front line, ready to strike at any moment, already locking on to the alpha. The beast tries to intimidate, glaring with a brutal rage, but MC doesn't back down and throws a heavy glare that gives chills. That makes the creature freeze right in its tracks. Lacking the guts for a fight, the creature starts taking steps back. Right after, it turns its back and bails, leaving the group lost. Panic takes over the whole pack, seeing the boss running from the fight. That weird fox lets out a desperate cry and bolts. Following the lead, the entire pack scrambles terrified into the forest. Our MC just stands there chilling, watching the enemy squad vanish into the horizon. Shocked, the old-timer can't believe those savage beasts backed off like that. Our MC cracks a smile, finding the pack leader actually pretty smart. At least the creature had the common sense to run instead of getting wiped out. A few hours later, night falls over the cabin. Hector mentions the bounty for that monster hits 40 gold coins. Having zero sense of value, the kid asks if that's a lot of cash, and the old man confirms. That leaves him speechless, since taking down the beast was super easy. But then his brain works fast, calculating the profits of this whole deal. With a smirk on his face, realization hits him in the best way possible. If cash gets tight, he can just hunt more of these weak mobs and get rich. Honestly, surviving in this place is gonna be a total walk in the park. Stepping outside, the hunter gathered all the useful loot from the beast. Hands over the leather, along with some jerky, silver coins, and a local map. The old-timer points at Pioneer Village on the map, telling him to look for a guy named Jacob. According to him, this guy would pay a fair price for the intact pelt. He tries to turn down such a huge payout, but the guy insists it's a fair trade. Reaching out his hand, Hector reminds him his true goal was only revenge. Sincerely, our kid says thanks and hopes they cross paths again someday. They share a solid, respectful handshake. Locks eyes with him, showing real gratitude for the backup. By the break of dawn the next day, standing at the door, the hunter just watches him walk off until he vanishes into the woods. Unbothered, our hero pushes forward with the heavy load, while the hunter watches his silhouette fade into the woods. Shortly after, a creeping feeling of being watched triggers his spider sense. That same creepy fox is eyeing him down from top of a rock. The massive wolf is also prowling nearby, growling and tracking his every move. Ignoring his unwanted escorts, Jin finally makes it to the famous Pioneer Village. Right off the bat, he scopes out the wooden structure at the entrance. He spots immediately that the place is packed, catching a suspicious glare from a guard. Walking through the streets, the kid feels the heavy stares from the locals judging him. The whole crowd glares at the outsider with pure distrust. At first, he thinks it's just prejudice, but then he catches the overall tense vibe. And it makes perfect sense, since humans can be way more twisted than mindless beasts. Holding the map, his route leads straight to a loud, rowdy tavern. Inside, the place is absolutely packed with mercenaries drinking and laughing. Keeping a low profile, he watches the folks chatting at a table. At the counter, the bartender gives him a look, asking if he wants a drink. Politely turning it down, he immediately asks about this guy Jacob. Right on cue, some random guy sitting right next to him chimes in, claims he's exactly the guy our MC is looking for. Our kid explains Hector sent him over to sell a beast pelt. Stunned, Jacob almost chokes, asking if the old-timer actually pulled it off. Seeing the guy so confused, the boy decides it's better to just play along. But once the pelt is rolled out on the table, the scammer starts drooling over the prime loot. Everyone around literally stops what they're doing to stare. Jacob flashes this massive grin from ear to ear, clearly plotting something shady. Faking pride, he lies straight to his face, saying he always believed in the old man's skills. And that's where it gets crazy. The vibe shifts entirely and goons start surrounding Jin. Without showing an ounce of fear, our hero just wants to know what their endgame is. Tossing the pelt over his shoulder, the scumbag tells him to get lost if he wants to live. Suddenly, the kid takes a deep breath and calls him out as a crook, demanding he honor the deal. Jacob just laughs it off, claiming this robbery is just him collecting on an investment. According to him, the old guy's supplies were a total loss, and this pelt is the payback. Glaring back, his instincts are screaming to send this clown straight to the lobby. Thankfully, the kid keeps his cool, not wanting to dirty his hands over a piece of leather. Out of nowhere, the punk throws his beer right into our MC's face, smirks, telling him he's lucky to even be walking out alive. The boy takes the disrespect in complete silence, standing still like a statue. Right after that, he stands up and turns his back while the guy gives him a smug look. Before stepping out, he drops the pouch of silver on the floorboards, confusing the whole room. Snatching up the cash, Jacob even mocks the kid's supposed cowardice and obedience. But suddenly, a massive crash shatters the vibe, making the scammer turn around. This is where it gets good. Jin steps back into the doorway holding a massive wooden log. With a dead serious tone, he grabs the attention of the entire crew, making his warning crystal clear. If you're gonna cross someone, you better finish the job completely. The lead goon busts out laughing, completely underestimating the rookie's brain. Ticked off by the disrespect, he orders his lackeys to completely body the kid. One massive brute leaps straight at him. In Jin's mind, taking out trash like them won't weigh on his conscience at all. Instantly, he parries the goon's sword with a swift motion. He loses his balance, totally stunned by that cracked speed. Dead serious, the kid reads every single movement going down in the hall. Moving like lightning, Jin makes these mercenaries look like slow-motion statues. Way too fast, one of the guys tries swinging an axe right at him. He just sidesteps, and the impact completely shatters the tavern floorboards. And then, the MC launches a brutal kick into a table chilling in the corner. Like a homing missile, that chunk of wood rips through the tavern air. Helpless, the target can't even blink before taking the hit. The impact sends the goon crashing straight to the ground. Planting his feet, the kid raises his blade and delivers the final strike. With his face covered in dirt, he glares down the few guys still standing. Jacob starts shaking, clueless as to how he picked a fight with a monster like that. It's insane that someone this overpowered flew under the radar, but right now he just needs to bolt. Cutting that thought short, Jin easily deals with a fool who tried jumping him. Right after, he gracefully dodges another strike coming his way. He counters the goon with insane force, while swinging his sword with zero hesitation. Ends the poor guy's whole career right then and there. His victorious menacing glare sweeps over the defeated crew, without a single scratch on him. That cold expression never leaves his face. Seeing the absolute mess, one survivor drops to the floor begging for mercy. The few remaining cowards scramble to escape however they can. They dive straight out the window, glass shards flying everywhere. Frantically, one of the guys trips over his own feet in pure panic. Staring into the dust cloud, he's left completely lost in all the madness. Through the opening, a massive red wolf shows up, spreading pure terror in the village. Horrified, the poor dude tries dragging himself as far away as possible. The beast just walks right past, completely ignoring the human trash in its way. Our boy pauses too, finding this whole visit incredibly shady, remembering that he just saw this exact beast running away terrified. With that, the kid stares at the beast and waits to see the monster's move. The creature completely freezes in place, staring at him in dead silence. Throwing an intimidating glare, the MC asks if the monster is here to get bodied too. But the animal just shrinks down, scared out of its mind by that insane pressure. Right adaptation, let's say, drops to the floor whining like a little puppy. It even rolls on its belly, wagging its tail all docile and submissive. Shuffling side to side, the creature gets right in the middle between the kid and the goons. Everyone there watches the scene totally lost at this bizarre behavior. Even Jin finds it super weird that this beast is acting like a needy stray. Staring down the giant monster, it finally clicks for the protagonist. And the tension spikes when the kid points his finger right at the mercenaries. Without dragging it out, he drops a single, sharp command: attack. The beast goes crazy with joy from the command, and lunges full force at the whole gang. The poor guy screams in despair while taking an absolutely brutal beating. The The creature rips the mercenary apart, finishing him instantly. Watching from the front row, the kid thinks the whole thing is incredible. Meanwhile, Jacob shakes in terror seeing his men getting shredded by the beast. The monster doesn't stop and finishes off another goon tossed right there on the floor. Out of options, the merchant looks at the MC trying to find an escape route. Eyeing the protagonist, he underestimates the kid and already cooks up a dirty plan. The scammer drops to his knees begging, swearing loyalty to try and trick the boy. But deep down, the idea is just to get out of there and pay back this humiliation way worse later. And that's where it gets crazy. Jin's sword slams into the floor inches from his face. Completely panicked, the guy's eyes go wide, seeing the end of his crew right next to him. With steel millimeters from his face, the coward stutters, calling the kid sir. Jin looks down with pure disgust and curses the guy out. Flashing a menacing smile, he questions who the scammer thinks he's fooling. That whole scene reminds him of his old boss who also constantly begged for breaks. Back in the day, the manager used the exact same lame excuse to skip paying his salary. Since the kid was naive, he ended up swallowing that garbage excuse about a crisis. The problem was the delay just kept growing and the late pay went from weeks to months. Another day asking for his cash. The boss barely cared and only wanted to play golf. Out of patience, the boss turned away and even insulted our boy. He got treated like trash for not understanding the company's supposedly tough phase. With that, the bad memory from those days speaks louder and he pulls the blade from the floor. Turning his back to Jacob, he reflects that he took away a golden lesson from it all. The scumbag stays sprawled on the wood, boiling with rage behind the kid's back. Soon, an evil grin pops up, convinced the kid slipped up. Taking the coward's way, the merchant jumps from the floor, rushing with a knife right for his back. He leaps, tearing through the air, yelling for the boy to disappear for good. But the MC turns his head completely calm, like he already read the whole attack. Catching the strike with his bare hand, he warns that trash like him, with a dark look, finishes saying this kind of scum has no salvation or remorse. It instantly clicks for Jacob, and the despair hits hard as he screams. In a split second, the kid responds with a clean, absolute slash. The impact is instant, and the scammer drops lifeless onto the tavern floorboards. Taking a deep breath with a marked face, he whispers that from now on, the game changed. Right there, he swears to himself that the era of being played for a fool is over forever. With the drama settled, the MC turns his back on the mess and plans his next move. Focusing on the wolf with the bag of cash in its mouth, he isn't sure what to do with the beast. The docile animal drops the bounty on the floor, making its new loyalty crystal clear. With that, the bag tips over and reveals a literal fortune in shiny gold coins. Jin spends a few seconds staring at that unlikely scene, calculating everything. Breaking the ice, the kid asks if the big wolf really wants to tag along for the ride. The monster loses its mind with joy and rubs against him like a giant puppy. Laughing, the protagonist accepts the company and gives the beast some head scratches. He enjoys the chill moment while the big guy closes his eyes, soaking up the affection. Petting its fur, he praises the smarts of his massive new mount. Satisfied, the protagonist declares the two of them are gonna make a great duo. The next day, Jin wakes up in a soft bed with a new pet passed out on the floor. It feels like he slept like a king, the best night in over 12 years. Stretching his bones, his energy is maxed out, and the big wolf also starts getting up after a night's sleep. Out in the yard doing laundry, the kid's back shows off a map of old scars. He lets out a slow breath, revealing marks of pure survival all over his body. Staring at the red water, he notes he took down his first humans last night. The wildest part is his conscience is completely clean, without a single drop of guilt. He even thought it was because they were villains, but the truth hides something different. Reliving the battle brought that same addictive high that comes with hunting beasts. Hand pressed firm on his chest, he feels a switch definitely flipped inside him. The kid's mind is adapting to this brutal world in a terrifying way. A bit sketched out by some internal change, he soon brushes it off and focuses on living. At least this time the routine won't just be suffering, and the payouts are high. So the goal is to enjoy the moment and not stress over the distant future. Jumping ahead in time, the duo already reaches the mountain of the 5th Pioneer City. Getting close to the entrance, Jin tells his pet to stay hidden to avoid causing a panic. The Chronicles book taught him the right place to cash in is the Alliance of Order. Looking for the branch building, he figures it's messed up to keep calling the big wolf a stray. He quickly finds the guild, where an official is watching the area totally bored. The kid checks if that's the bounty counter, and the clerk asks what he needs. Wasting no time, the MC throws that giant fur rug right on the desk. Explaining straight up, he says he came to cash in the loot from a recent hunt. Full of attitude, the official mocks him, thinking it's dog fur to pull some scam. However, touching the heavy texture, the smug look vanishes instantly. The guy almost falls falls backward, seeing the monster's head still attached to the whole pelt. Stuttering in shock, he asks if that kid alone wiped the floor with the beast. Jin just nods, confirming the crazy kill like it was just another Tuesday. After that, he waits in a fancy lounge room while the material gets authenticated. Minutes later, a respected older guy shows up apologizing for the red tape. The authority confirms the catch is real and drops a very heavy bag of cash on the table. Grabbing the bag, the MC's mind already calculates he's got cash for almost a decade. The shine of pure gold brings a whole different kind of shaking and adrenaline. Without a doubt, he concludes that having full pockets is way too good a feeling. Cutting the joy short, the official excuses himself to bring up another matter of interest. Straight to the point, the big shot wants to know if the kid is down for another request. Pretty intrigued, our MC asks for the details on this mysterious offer. The issue is a monster invading the local quarry and locking down the whole area. Shutting down the bloodstone mining is simply wrecking the entire economy. And the worst detail of this headache is rumors say it's a wildly strong beast. Staring at the kid, the old-timer bets all his chips that he's the perfect lifesaver. The kid immediately asks what kind of beast they're dealing with. At that, the old-timer warns it's the Mad Skull and it's worth 70 gold coins. Freezes on the spot, remembering the book and the fact he already fought this thing. His mind pulls up the image of the giant beast rocking a tough skull on its head. It had bone thick as a rock and attacked like an absolute madman. Being way stronger than the wolves, the whole city's panic makes total sense. Our MC clenches his fist, remembering he got clowned 28 times in their first clash. Curious, the official asks if the kid can actually handle the job. He stays quiet for a few seconds, weighing the whole idea, and flashing a smirk, declares he'd just picked out his next target. Shortly after, arrives at the massive quarry with machines tossed everywhere. Muttering to himself, remembers the work stopped because of this pest. That gloomy vibe gives actual chills, so cleaning the place out fast is the best move. But a squad of mercenaries blocks the entrance and tells the kid to hold up. The troop leader tells him to get in line since they got to the fight first. Out of patience, the boy doesn't get this crazy idea of taking a ticket to hunt. Visibly awkward, the big guy tries to play it off with a forced smile. Attempts to recruit the rookie next, offering an alliance to split the work. Calculating the risks, the MC realizes waiting won't cut it, but fighting makes it worse. It could work as a team, but the crew was already whispering about cash. However, with a track record of betrayal, trusting that crowd wasn't an option. Intrigued, he asks the real reason for the invite if the squad is already full. The captain lets out a weak laugh, admitting safety comes before glory, saying he'd be a huge help. The guy drops the question, "You're strong, right?" He catches the tricky tone and asks how the guy knows his levels so fast. With a finger pointed at the kid's pet, the old-timer warns this breed only follows badasses. And from what they say, not even the guild tamed this beast, leaving everyone stunned, completely lost. The MC didn't even notice when the big guy left his hiding spot. The answer comes fast. A support was bribing the dog with some prime meat. Swallowing the bite, the beast looks at its owner like it wants group approval. After taking a bite, the wolf tosses the other half of the snack toward the MC. The creature freezes and the whole squad widens their eyes, completely clueless. On the inside, Jin grumbles about the audacity of this giant sellout. But man, that dropped chicken leg was smelling way too good. Instantly, he gulps dry, sweating cold from pure cravings. Staring at the grub, the heavy lack of seasoned food hits hard. His brain tries fighting it because picking up floor food is just rock bottom. Yet the stomach speaks louder and his hand almost snags the dirt-covered meal. Catching the scene, the mercenary holds out a fresh plate asking if he wants some. The kid freezes in place, caught way off guard by the kindness. Right there, the girl earns angel status, sent down just to save him. Pushing into the mine, the crew uses hanging lightstones to clear up the path. The whole squad, with our MC in the middle, heads down into the quarry's darkness. At this moment, the chicken's flavor completely wipes the floor with that old beast jerky. Walking beside him, the girl realizes nobody even dropped their names yet. The big guy announces he's Captain Jonathan of the Black Marlins, and the girl is Claire. He fires back with a short nickname, and the boss welcomes him, leaving room for questions. With the alliance sealed, the leader cracks a relieved smile, having a heavy hitter on board. Soon they reach a massive chamber, setting up nets and focusing on an ambush tactic. Looking at the blonde girl, he gives the green light to start the heavy prep. Out of nowhere, the wind around them glows differently, and mystical feathers surround the boy. Seeing the mage floating with a magic book, he figures out how spells work around here. The kid finds it awesome watching the power from that cabin manual come to life up close. Focused on the spells, Claire casts a holy blessing for the team's sake. The The bright aura takes over the squad's bodies, triggering the feather step. Smiling, the captain praises her, saying that support buff saves everyone's lives. Straight to the point, the girl warns the extra boost only lasts 3 to 5 minutes. The captain yells out, telling the crew to hold firm at the tactical base. Taking a deep breath, sprints off to bait the monster from the bottom of the pit. Jin watches the guy turn into a blur in the open and thinks that technique is super OP. Staring at the partner, he wonders if he could cast spells with some training, but the shout from one of the guys ruins the mood, warning that it's coming. One mistake and everybody bites the dust, so the order is to tighten the trap and stay alive. Scanning the terrain, the kid approves of the method to lure the prey into the web, except there's a doubt if an ambush like this can actually tank the fury of that beast. Suddenly, Jonathan flies right over that armored freak charging in full of rage. In the beast's crosshairs, the guy drops the command for the backline to set the trap. The captain slides across the floor like a slippery eel, dodging the monster's strikes. They yell from the back to get ready and lock the monster down. Under pressure, they drop the thick net straight onto the creature's head. Everyone pulls the rope like crazy, trying to stop the brute's momentum. The knot tightens hard, and through the gaps, the beast's glare burns with pure hatred. Hyped up, Jonathan clears the front line of spears to pierce the contained target. Without an ounce of pity, the wall of weapons slices the wind, aiming for soft spots. Driving the steel with anger, the spikes try to punish the trapped beast's side. And that's where it gets crazy. The thing just lets out an annoyed roar, completely untouched by the damage. Horribly wrong, the beast sweeps through the cave, dragging the squad across the floor. The brute ignores the cables and turns the crew into a tug-of-war joke. He watches closely, realizing their defense just completely shattered. Honestly, that group lacks the leverage to stall so much angry muscle. Desperate, some poor guy screams for backup, yelling to hold on and keep the target still. The giant snubs the pulling and starts tearing the net to break free. Letting out a heavy roar, killer instinct all over its face, the net fully rips apart. It locks eyes with the mage and gears up to charge. Claire freezes in shock, facing the killing machine unleashed right in front of her. Without hesitation, our MC tears through the air like lightning, stepping up to the fight. He grabs the monster right by the horns, trying to stall it. Our boy was getting dragged hard thanks to the beast's crazy strength. At the very last millisecond, his bare hands grip one of the horns. The impact is brutal, but the runaway truck simply stops dead in its tracks against him. Claire screams in panic, warning that it was way too risky. Not even shaking, the kid calms the blonde down, telling her to chill out. Focused on the beast's blind rage, he finds the exact perfect spot on the brute. With a huge grin, he tells the mage he knows exactly how to fold this type. Right there, through raw power, he clowns the massive giant by dominating the charge by the horns. Without warning, he throws the beast's huge head backward. The jolt throws it off balance, opening a clean gap in its defense. Instantly, the MC aims his blade right at the monster's neck, showing zero mercy. Using all his strength, the strike collides, sending the creature flying back. But the kickback bounces off the kid, proving he needs a lot more horsepower in that frame. The realization hits that this bone tank's raw strength is just absurd. Boiling with rage, he blames himself for giving away such a free opening. But out of nowhere, a magic glow covers his body, leaving the kid confused. In the back, the mage holds her hand out, signaling that support has arrived. The boy feels his body get super light, like 30 kilos just vanished from his back. Smiling, Jin figures out that with this backup, his master plan will run smoothly. Suddenly, the captain tries to help, but gets yelled at to tell everyone to back off. The big guy freezes mid-sprint, having zero clue about that reaction. Filled with that energy, the MC drops the truth that right now, it's way easier to settle this clash solo. Charging in, he remembers that taming this beast only requires a few tricks. Deep down, the creature is nothing but a giant, beefed-up boar. The monster runs like a missile, yet it has no idea how to turn properly. Taking advantage of that flaw, he dodges the strike by jumping right over the brute. With zero brakes, the beast smashes its face straight into the rocky cave wall. Desperately, the target tears up the ground, trying to stop its own weight. After a massive crash, it finally drops to the floor, kicking up a huge dust cloud. Jin sees that Claire's magic really messed up the beast and preps phase 2. Staring at those huge tusks, he realizes the horns act like the monster's arms. But since that bone is tough as steel, the next move has to be way different. The perfect target is going straight for the unprotected snout. With a surgical strike, he hits the big nose, making the beast roar in pain. Now, any sudden movement is going to trigger unbearable pain. Without losing his rhythm, the kid pushes forward to finish this humiliation. His sword easily tears through the leg hide, leaving it entirely on the defensive. Rides the momentum, aiming right for the other leg and slicing it down too. Locked in, the MC slices the the target's side with a rapid-fire combo. Wearing a smug smirk, the kid is already dead certain of his victory. Miles away from that spot, the mercenary squad rushes back to the arena in peak tension. Arriving on the scene, the captain freezes in shock, while the mage just wants to find their ally. However, as she turns her head, she bumps into a wall blocking the path. The kid's pet marks its territory, growling and putting heavy pressure on the duo, holding his partner back. The big guy finds that protective stance super weird. In her mind, the giant beast is forbidding anyone from interrupting the duel. Soon enough, Jin emerges from the mine's darkness and the big dog clears the way instantly. Claire runs up relieved, asking about the beast, while he hides his craving for cores. Man, right then he drops that the threat is gone, leaving the two utterly lost. Pointing at the ground, he jokes that there's only a pile of pork left for dinner. Both drop their jaws, unable to believe a single hunter soloed the boss like that. Suddenly, the giant pet seems to sniff something out. The beast starts growling right away, leaving the squad leader utterly confused. And that's where it gets crazy. Another bone tank pops right out of the tunnel. Huffing heavily, the creature glares at the crew with a look of pure fury. The old-timer yells the warning of another enemy and orders everyone into position, but the support pulls the guide back, asking him to look a little closer. Over in the dark, she spots tiny shadows hiding behind the massive beast. Two little bone-faced piglets peek from behind their mom, making cute noises. That giant female lets out a low roar, making it clear she doesn't want any smoke. Completely frozen, the MC and his pet just watch the whole scene unfold. Right after, the mom turns her back and starts guiding her pups toward the exit. The entire crew stays rooted, just admiring the bizarre family bounce out of there. Jaw dropped, the boss can't even believe they just bailed without throwing hands. The blonde guesses the cave was their nest and even feels a bit bad for the creatures. Sighing in relief, the kid is chill with them leaving in pure peace. Hours later, the crew is already partying hard in the 5th Pioneer City. Their hangout spot is a packed tavern, perfect for tossing back some drinks. Raising his glass, the captain toasts the successful job and everyone's survival. Full of joy, he announces the best time of the night, splitting the loot. Hyped up, the mercenaries cheer, thirsty for the cash that just hit their pockets. Jin and Claire look at the bags, and the mage finds the massive pile of gold super sketchy. Chuckling, the old-timer confesses he pulled a fast one to squeeze out more coin. His excuse was that having two monsters and pups drastically spiked the risk level. Super proud, he brags about pulling 110 shiny coins for the squad. The kid raises an eyebrow, remembering they didn't even touch the mom but still profited. Letting out a weak laugh, the sly guy admits he exaggerated a bit at the guild. The troop bursts out laughing and claps for the boss, since a lie that pays becomes the truth. Watching the little show, the MC thinks this whole crew is a wild bunch. Suddenly, the big guy's heavy hand lands on the kid's shoulder to drop a message. The leader puts it on the table that half the gold goes to the rookie, daring anyone to complain. Caught off guard, the kid can't even believe this massive payout. Without sugarcoating it, the old-timer reminds them the team would be 6 feet under if not for him. Since the prize multiplied from the scam, the math works out perfectly with everyone's approval. The rest of the squad gives a thumbs up, confirming that fair share really belongs to him. Scratching his neck, Jin concludes the support and the net also saved the day in the end. He sincerely says thanks and even announces he's paying for the open bar tonight. The crowd goes wild, chugging bottles and promising to empty the kid's wallet. Out of nowhere, a drinking contest kicks off, which looks like it'll last all night. The MC finds it weird seeing the blonde slipping out the door in the middle of the mess, but asked about her destination, she calmly replies she needs to focus on magic training. Right away, a strong curiosity hits to understand this addiction to studying right after a fight. Out in the yard, the mage meditates under the full moon with a beautiful aura around her. Insanely focused, magic power overflows from her, lighting up the dark. From a distance, the kid thinks her discipline is cracked right after almost dying. That pure magic mystery leaves the boy's head boiling with interest. Honestly, the thought of casting spells is starting to look like an excellent plan. When the sun comes up, he asks her to mentor him, and she happily agrees right away. What if he could keep a trick like that up his sleeve for future clashes? Finding that yes, way too easy, she confesses she was already looking for a way to return the favor. The girl reminds him he saved the entire squad, so passing on some knowledge is the bare minimum. She even throws a little shade, saying the mercenaries don't take good care of their support. Killing the mood, the captain chimes in that there's no time, since they roll out in 2 days. The blonde suggests he travels along, but the old-timer says there's no reason for that. Full of excuses, the leader pretends he doesn't want to slow down a lone wolf like him. Our MC sees right through the act, noticing the guy sneakily wants to keep him around. Playing along, he asks about their destination, finding out it's the 4th Pioneer City. With zero shame, he makes up that he was heading exactly there and asks to tag along. The duo figures the rookie took the bait right after that lame excuse about learning magic. They hype up this massive coincidence, stoked to finally have a solid tank in the party. Flashing a smirk, Jin just accepts that the trip is going to be in good company now. Shortly after, the whole convoy hits the road trailing a massive cargo beast. It was a Tarask, an absolute unit of a beast tamed for humans to travel across this map. Staring at the beast, the kid remembers the chronicles and sees they use the giant like a horse. Right away, the captain yells for the crew to pick up the pace because it's going to be a long trip. On the road, Jean meditates with Claire and reflects on how annoying learning new things actually is. Thinking about it, the worst part of leveling up is the boring and repetitive training. In his memory, any skill only unlocks through pure repetition, at a super slow pace. Even worse is when the progress stalls, and doing the same routine turns into a massive punishment. But dealing with suffering became a daily routine for this kid a long time ago. 12 years fighting for his life in that nightmare left his mind completely bulletproof. Locked in under the moonlight, the MC keeps pushing his absolute limits. Flashing a smile, he accepts the rule is just trying until the thing works. And suddenly a blue spark pops up out of nowhere right around him. Claire jumps for joy, confirming he felt the magic, and he guesses it's that famous mana. It took 10 days just to get that click, proving the stuff is actually super complicated. Joking around, the blonde calls him a bit slow but praises him since most don't even make it that far. Without losing momentum, she pulls some vials from her backpack to start the next phase. That super weird blue liquid goes straight into a small bowl. Smiling, the girl kneels on the ground and tells the boy to take his shirt off with no hesitation. Caught off guard, he completely freezes, having zero clue about that bold request. Under the moonlight, Jin takes off his shirt, while the mage dips her fingers in that weird water. The kid questions what the actual plan is here. Touching his back, she explains she's opening a path to inject the mana. A magic symbol lights up on his skin, and the girl asks him to focus on the feeling. Tense about the whole idea, the kid just nods along. Instantly, the energy starts rushing into his body through the mark. That surreal power takes over everything, leaving him completely speechless in shock. The feeling of power and adrenaline easily beats anything from his entire life. Deep down, there's a vibe of something way thicker than his own blood flowing. Checking if everything went well, the mage gets a solid confirmation that the current is running wild in there. With the success confirmed, she lists the 3 basic steps to learn how to cast. First is feeling it, second is storing it, and finally actually using the power. Since he already cleared phase 1, they jump straight to the energy storage part. The blonde warns him to hold his breath and create an empty space near his heart. Dripping with sweat, the MC closes his eyes, chasing absolute control of his body. Soon after, she unleashes the heavy load of pure magic, flying straight into his back. Boiling up, the mystic symbol pulls everything inside the kid at an insane pace. Man, right then, a twisted vision of a bug-type monster invades his mind. This bizarre creature starts shaking like it's suffering in pure agony. Shrinking its sharp arms, the beast screams out in a heavy nightmare. The beast's eyes lock onto a much worse threat right in front of it. Out of nowhere, the focus shifts to a pair of bloodthirsty eyes loaded with evil. Claire actually feels a rotten presence outside his mind, breaking the vibe. And just like that, everything changed. A hidden force throws the girl backward, cutting the connection right on the spot. Terrified, she watches her own essence getting forcefully robbed by the mark on his back. In sheer panic, she screams that the boy is endlessly draining her life force. Acting fast, the big wolf wraps its tail around the mage's waist to pull her back. Driven by pure instinct, the dog jumps in front and pushes the mage far from danger. She can barely believe the giant monster actually came to the rescue. The guard dog takes up an aggressive stance, walling off the MC. Crying from the scare, the blonde realizes the creature sensed the heavy threat and took action. Soon Jin's voice cuts the silence, calling out for her with his sanity fully back. Word about the fall, the kid gets up checking if she got hurt. Trembling hard, the mage concludes she just brushed against the guy's macabre mindscape. This whole phenomenon happens when a guy's soul and history take shape in an isolated space. Deep down, the look of that universe completely reflects the life the person lived. The real mystery is how such a dark nightmare ended up inside that kid's head. Without beating around the bush, she steps to him, demanding the raw truth. Staring the boy down, the support drops the heavy question. Did he swallow a monster core? Completely lost in the scolding, Jin repeats the word, having zero clue about the gravity of the situation. After she explains the beast cores, he casually admits he eats them all the time. The girl totally freaks out and shakes him, demanding the exact amount of this bizarre snack. Scratching his head, he confesses he's been gulping them down for about 10 years, easily in the thousands. Chill as ever, he just asks what the big deal is, only to get an insane scream back. She puts the truth on the table, warning that any human pulling this crazy stunt, hitting the bucket instantly or becoming a corrupted freak is the only destiny. Shocked by the warning, the kid freezes as his heavy vibe takes over the room. That cursed world is ruled by a thick energy called karma. When creatures suck up this filth, they unlock completely sick powers. Basically, the monster core is the pure juice of this concentrated cursed magic. Heading back on the road, the support's mind just won't turn off from the absurdity she just saw. A nagging thought stays in her head, bringing back memories of a dark priest. Back in the day, a ton of crazy cultists treated those karma-filled monsters like angels. This cult ran heavy rituals, sacrificing people and eating the crystals like absolute madmen. Comparing the stories, the boy's absurd diet matches up perfectly with that dark legend. In her mind, the absolute dread of traveling next to a shadow follower kicks in. However, logic speaks louder, since a villain would never drop his secrets like that. The issue is that the kid's attitude is still way too sketchy for her. After all, who in their right mind would think swallowing a raw gut stone is cool? Keeping her eyes on the MC, the girl keeps racking her brain to crack the mystery. He's a bizarre mystery box who just copied the lifestyle of the other beasts. Running to his side, she declares playtime is over and he needs to go on a strict diet. Secretly, he doubts the lecture, considering he's standing there buff and totally alive. But remembering the thrill of crushing those goons, a bitter doubt creeps into the back of his soul. The harsh question remains, is all this coldness just the karma messing with his head? Promising to dial back the menu, the answer he gets is a harsh ear pull from the mage. The blonde warns that besides passing away, too much karma is gonna completely block his spells. Shocked by the magic block, he gets scolded for caring more about that than his own life. Sighing, she calms the guy down, revealing the issue only applies to casting pure spells. To his belief, the famous physical mana arts should still work just fine. Completely in the dark, the MC repeats the term, wanting to understand the difference. A few days later, the convoy hits the fourth pioneer city packed with massive buildings. Right in the center of the place, there's a whole army of mercenaries focused on a glowing pillar. Seeing the crowd, he finds it weird, but the support warns the mission here is built different. The biggest deal here is the actual elite showing up in person to boss the whole mess around. Decked out in full armor, the renowned knight Raymond commands everyone's attention. Instantly, the kid feels the crushing weight the silver old-timer carries on his shoulders. It's crystal clear his aura just humiliates anyone around, and he's nowhere near an ordinary guy. Asking the captain about the hype, he finds out the big bucks are coming from the Golden Wolf. Innocently, Jin guesses it's the name of some giant bug, making the mage almost have a heart attack. She judges the boy's little bubble and concludes he's a machine built just to hunt beasts. And that's where it gets crazy. Jonathan drops the truth. That nickname belongs to the richest, most influential tycoon in the whole area, but he quickly warns that the rich guy kicked the bucket not too long ago. The kid immediately suspects foul play, and the captain confirms the rumors are flying wild. Trying to figure out the whole mess, Jin finds out the inheritance went to 2 heirs. Now the crew's big mission is escorting all this heavy cash to the safe zone. With that much wealth to move, gathering an army of guards makes perfect sense. A loud voice cuts through the hall, calling the Black Marlins to step up to the circle. Hyped up, Jonathan pulls the rookie by the arm, leaving him pretty lost in a situation. Then the old-timer introduces the kid as the team's trump card who clowned giant beasts. The whole crowd around starts whispering, doubting the new recruit's innocent look. Finding the bizarre nickname weird, he listens as the captain asks for patience and trust in the plan. Right as one of them, the holy big shot throws a heavy glare in dead silence. Breaking the ice, he sets the 100 gold prize and warns they roll out at sunrise. The leader happily pulls the kid away, while the boy is shocked by that much cash just to carry some bags. Except the old-timer explains the famed trick where half the payout comes from carrying a heavy name. That scary title given to the rookie worked as the perfect bait to inflate their price. Flashing a smile, the leader says the crowd calls him that for crushing beast skulls. The kid just thinks the guys have awful taste when it comes to picking war names. In the end, the troop cheers over the cash and he casually accepts his brawler reputation. His strategy now is using all of his clout to try and learn those rare mana arts. Hours later, things get wild at the camp with a fighting tournament kicking off. 2 massive dudes trade punches in the arena while the crowd goes absolutely wild, showing zero mercy. One of the fighters lands a nasty elbow right in his rival's face. Claire asks if he's really gonna brawl in there, and the kid brings up the officer's techniques. He wants to put on a solid show to catch the elite's attention and steal their secret. After all, the journal mentioned his holy faction is obsessed with powerful warriors. Earning their respect could actually score him some top-tier training. Stretches out to step into the ring, dead confident that the win will be a piece of cake. The stage is set perfectly to body anyone and hook the top authority's interest. Right off the bat, the first rival charges like a mad bull straight at the chill rookie. But our MC just sidesteps the strike strike like it's nothing without even breaking a sweat. Running on pure reflex, he delivers a heavy hammer strike to the chin, sending the poor guy flying. Grabs the target by the head, prepping one last hit to end the fight for good. To secure the humiliating finish, he lands a brutal headbutt. The crowd goes wild over the beatdown, and the big guy drops hard onto the dirt. From up high, the holy authority sips his wine, watching the spectacle with curiosity. However, the kid isn't satisfied with just cheers. The bait needs to be a lot juicier. He plans on wiping the floor with a whole line of extras to hook the real big fish. Deep down, the idea is to easily body 3 massive dudes without breaking a sweat. That way, the big shot won't have any choice but to figure out where this kid came from. The genius plan moves forward, betting that after knocking down a mountain of weak mercenaries, surely the raw talent bait will make the military leader act exactly like he predicted. And just like that, the knight actually sends his own student down to test the rookie's strength. Rex steps up looking furious, insulted that he has to step off his pedestal to crush a lowly mercenary. This is exactly what the boy was waiting for to get his hands on the real prize tonight. Without a second thought, he crosses his arms and turns down the fight to start negotiating for that magic. The holy pupil is left completely stunned by such massive disrespect from a random guy. Right in the middle of the dark courtyard, only the hyped screams from the crowd can be heard. Claire widens her blue eyes, convinced the kid finally lost whatever sanity he had left. Even the captain looks like he saw a ghost, completely lost at the recruit's absurd stupidity. The entire crowd goes dead silent, waiting for the sky to fall on them after such a direct insult. Throwing a massive fit, the blonde kid screams his lungs out, refusing to be rejected by someone beneath him. But the Supreme Knight just keeps his arms crossed, calm as a peaceful lake. Raymond cuts off the kid's tantrum, asking if he's hurt and trying to dodge the fight. Waving his hands off, the kid casually mocks that he's perfectly healthy right now. The silver-haired veteran locks his gaze, demanding the real reason for turning down a formal clash. He drops the truth that, as a mercenary, wasting time fighting for free just isn't in his plans. With zero shame, the protagonist brings up the idea of throwing down a heavy bet for the match. Curious, the veteran asks what the hell he would even ask for in such a crazy bet. Holding up the magic pouch packed with gold, he claims he might lack a name, but he's loaded with cash. The golden shine from the pure coins lights up the tent, making the negotiation vibe incredibly heavy. Utterly stunned, the crowd looks at the kid like he's insane for playing games with the elite. Rex grinds his teeth, practically foaming with rage at having his honor compared to dirty gold. Stepping forward, the spoiled kid growls that he rejects any handout from the trash. However, the master's brilliant mind tells his student to shut up and launches a counteroffer. Instead of material goods, the old-timer demands an agreement, dodging the blame for any injury. Raymond wants to cave this punk's face in without worrying about paying his hospital bills tomorrow. Easily, Jin accepts the shady deal, warning he'll collect his payout right after the brawl. The vibe shifts entirely as the two lock a deadly glare right in the center of the makeshift ring. He steps into the ring blinded by fury, eager to put the outsider back in his place. Meanwhile, the MC stays ice cold, mapping out the show-off kid's fighting habits. The bleachers go wild, cheering for the crazy hero who made everyone bet their life savings on him. Sweating cold, Jonathan tells him to tap out if things get ugly, but our MC just waves it off. Fearless, he promises right in front of everyone that destroying this rich kid is an easy win. Right before the bell rings, the blonde kid asks his master for permission to fight with real killing intent. The master gives the green light, knowing the mysterious opponent won't go down that easily. Taking a deep breath, the student gears up to go all out. Man, the crowd loses their minds seeing this famous man art up close for the very first time. Then the rich kid launches forward, propelled by that mana and slicing right through the wind. Within seconds, he closes the entire gap with an absolutely brutal charge. Jin notices right away that the kid's speed would easily crush any random thug in the room. That heavy fist comes flying in, dead focused, aiming straight to rip his head off. Reading the lethal force behind the blow, the kid knows taking that hit means a straight trip to the lobby. That just cranks up his greed to snatch that precious physical magic technique for his own arsenal. But using his usual cracked reflexes, he pulls his chin out of the strike zone at the very last millisecond. Without missing a beat, the opponent throws a second heavy energy punch right after. Trying to block, the kid's arms take the heavy damage, getting pushed back by the sheer force. Blood on his lip, the rich boy mocks him, pretending to forget if his name was actually Jin. Full of arrogance, he warns that a wild animal should fear the holy strength of the elite. Jonathan gulps hard, watching watching that golden steamroller, already mourning his lost bet. The support grips her hands, sweating cold in total despair at her ally's one-sided beatdown. From a distance, the Supreme Master quietly watches the match, noticing something super sketchy about it all. He's just pretending to fight for his life, dancing around the hurricane of punches without fighting back, absorbing the magic's heavy kickbacks using pure defensive skills across the tight arena space. Raymond furrows his brow, sniffing out a massive inconsistency in the middle of this whole act. Just before the bet, this same outsider was completely bodying huge guys with a single destructive hit. But this fake weakness looks way too forced, and the master suspects a trap is waiting right up ahead. Ignoring the mind games, the apprentice roars, completely blinded by the hunger for a shiny new victory. With a punch of pure aura, the brat pulls power from his very soul to drop the final checkmate. That crazy attack tears through the air, glowing bright, ready to completely pulverize the defenseless opponent. And this is where it gets good. The hero just slides to the side, letting the heavy strike hit nothing but air. The captain freaks out, yelling that the rookie just tanked holy magic straight to the chest. Jonathan goes speechless, trying to wrap his head around that absolute unit of strength. With just some light scratches on his arm, Jin mentally wraps up his testing phase. Right then he knows for sure, having weighed and measured every single ounce of the rich kid's power. Flashing a sadistic smirk, the hero wonders if he should test the playboy's durability right now. Tearing through the wind, he buries his fist straight into the pit of the guy's stomach. The punch was so brutal, the blonde kid spits up his breath, folding in half right in the arena. From a distance, the master goes into shock, seeing that a raw punch caused all that damage. He catches the absolute humiliation, realizing the mercenary wasn't even looking for an opening. Instead, he was just soaking in the brawl and completely playing with the poor guy. Checking the damage, the kid figures the physical magic is the only thing that kept the rich boy alive. Even wobbling around, the brat tries to act tough, telling him to bring it on. Cracking his knuckles, Jin takes a breath, mocking him about how many punches he can actually take. But before anything else happens, the rich kid's boss steps into the ring and calls off the fight. Instantly, the officer officially declares the smasher as the winner. To settle the shady deal, the old-timer agrees to hand over the technique, as long as the humiliation ends right there. A bit salty about the quick stop, the kid feels robbed of the chance to crush the playboy even more. But looking on the bright side, the bait paid off, and his master plan worked flawlessly. The crowd bursts into tears of joy, screaming his war name like he's the camp's biggest idol. Somewhere fancy in the capital, a mansion witnesses an absolute disaster of a scene. The billionaire heirs of the Golden Wolf family scarf down everything in total desperation. Derek and Cedric eat like pigs, having the worst panic attack imaginable. Freaking out about the slow transport, the younger brother curses out their garbage escort team. Chewing loudly, the older brother complains that empty promises are how this trash guild makes its money. Feeling his own flesh melting, Cedric suffers, completely convinced he won't make it there alive. Out of options, the brother declares that praying their bodies don't explode is the only goal now. Meanwhile, something dark pulses inside him, like a cursed cancer made of dirty magic. The scene shifts, and Raymond kicks off the tutorial, explaining that mana is basically magic muscle. The trick is overloading raw strength to turn a kick or a blade strike into an absolute cannon. At first it's straightforward, but mastering it turns a rookie into a living bulldozer. The guy drops the truth that even a basic move, if done right, can split the sea and crack the asphalt. Putting on a show, he swings his sword, letting the pressure shatter the ground and rip out roots. Holding his pose, the blade glows while the dust settles and chills run through the whole camp. Sucking up to the master, the apprentice claps for the show, calling him a living legend. Acting like a massive fanboy, he keeps hyping the guy up until getting a sharp order to shut up. Quiet but obedient, he nods and tells the master not to lose focus on the training. Seeing that heavy light, Jim remembers his giant wolf glowing almost the exact same way. A nagging thought hits him, and he figures that move was some seriously advanced power. Except there's a doubt whether that general could just tear down a mountain with a raw punch even without it. Killing the vibe, the old-timer demands total focus on the explanation, and the kid obeys. He starts explaining that during a heavy flex, the veins pop right under the skin. That exact millisecond of max pressure is the chance to lock in the flow of mana. So far, the theory is exactly the basic stuff the blonde already taught him. And that's where it gets crazy. Pulling the power, a blue aura bursts right out of the kid's body. Stunned, Jin feels a whole ocean of energy rising up and can't even believe where it all came from. Breathing lightly, he senses the support's gentle essence flowing right inside his veins. Instantly, that fire grows, turning dark purple into a terrifying whirlpool. The master warns him to burn it off safely, forcing his body to act as an exhaust pipe. Man, right then, the general freezes, feeling pure evil sweating straight out of the boy. The bizarre energy wraps around the blade right away, turning the steel into pure, living agony, frying his brain over how a rookie pulled off an advanced aura so fast. Genuine fear hits the master. What keeps the Holy Knight awake is the color of the rock covering the protagonist's weapon. Since mana reflects a person's soul, that purple energy signals a truly dark heart. Sweating cold, the guy sizes up the kid, desperate to figure out what kind of hell lives inside him. Flashing a lethal smile, he tests out the sword, smoking with live poison ready for the test. With pure fury in his chest, he tears the air, making the concentrated power burst out in a single slash. Every single strike he lands shows just how destructive this energy really is. The blade glowing with that purple mana, while our MC flexes even harder. Judging his own technique, the kid finds the energy drain kind of useless at first glance. On the flip side, he thinks it's insanely badass, and counts the hours to smash some skeletons for real. The scene cuts to the convoy marching on, dragged by incredibly ugly giant turtles. The mage leans in, jaw-dropped by his talent, but he fully hands the trophy over to Claire. But soon the MC steps up, demanding some answers about the massive dose of power she passed on. Completely flustered, the priestess blushes and stutters about that unforgettable moment. She spins a story, pretending it was just a little reward for saving the squad on the last mission. The kid's brain barely believes the kindness, but the extra gas was absolutely perfect for the old-timer's training. Up ahead, the old man scoffs, watching the goofy joy and the complete lack of self-awareness from the outsider. Behind the horse, the annoying student sulks, telling him to kiss the dirt for getting an elite lesson. Rolling his eyes, Jin can't stand the whining from the arena loser begging for attention. This was the perfect cure for boredom, already prepping a show to absolutely torch the blonde kid's ego. Out of pure luck, the general breaks his focus, slapping the back of his mount hard. The scare is heavy, and the animal kicks up dust trying to shake the annoying brat off its back. Caught off guard, the playboy goes flying and crashes into the dirt, while the old-timer tells him to ignore his guard dog. Suddenly the mood sours and the knight throws a heavy insult back, leaving the MC completely lost in the drama. In total panic, the heir's boss throws a fit at the buffet, flipping all the tables to the floor. The kid questions the sudden panic, but the military authority swears it's totally normal. He excuses the tantrum by claiming that screaming on an empty stomach is basically law for filthy rich bosses. The excuse that the brothers are just drowning their sorrow in food doesn't really hold up. Raymond says these spoiled nobles only suck the energy out of whoever deals with their madness. Except to Jin, this fit feels way too dark and his gut is screaming to get out of the line of fire. In his twisted math, every time the food bowl disappeared from those gluttons, a creepy vibe in the air spiked up exactly the same way inside the fancy wagon. No one saw that coming. One of the kids mutates, turning into a slimy blob. The red alert goes off in the boy's head, noticing something seriously weird is happening. In a split second of surprise, he catches that something is going down. A demonic roar tears through the convoy's peace, sending everything flying. The disgusting beast throws the entire crew right to the edge of destruction. Things hit rock bottom when a lackey screams that the giant turtle is throwing a lethal fit. Raymond goes into shock, completely clueless about what was happening, screaming for the lieutenant to act fast. The rich kid responds with his finger on the trigger, ready for death. Wasting no time, the captain draws his sword and gets ready for whatever comes next. Jumping into the brawl, he orders everyone to slice up even the crazy mount if it comes down to it. The pupil confirms the deadly order without blinking an eye. On the transport's shell, some ugly spikes pierce right through the boss's cabin. With teeth and tongues completely tangled, the abomination screams a tone of absolute destruction. Shaking, Claire screams, confirming it's an abomination, and he hears this confusing term. To clear things up, she drops that this beast is a human rotting in the demon's cursed karma. The boy's blood freezes, noticing the actual terror of what that dirty energy truly does. And before the MC can even move, the army steps onto the battlefield, silver blade sharp and ready. With a massive leap, the captain takes the front line in the attack. Unleashing the holy fire slash technique, the old-timer launches a destructive wave. Wasting no time, he yells for his student to attack together. The kid takes a breath and charges in full of rage to flank the beast. That charged hit lands perfectly, causing some ridiculous damage. Combining their strength, the beast gets turned into mincemeat and drops to the dirt. And that's where it gets crazy. The slimy pieces start gluing themselves back together. Desperate, the master can't even believe the monster has pure regeneration. The beast comes back fully healed with a killer glare, freezing the student in pure shock. Grinding his teeth in anger, the blonde kid can only curse at the situation. Suddenly, the monster strikes the general's people, swallowing him whole, leaving behind only a severed arm still gripping the sword. Our MC freezes in terror, seeing the brutal violence of that scene. In the back, the mage and the rest of the team are shaking with zero reaction. Furious, the old-timer curses loudly over failing to protect the squad. Without thinking twice, he blasts off again right at that cursed slime. Triggering his power, the colossal strike slices the the abomination one more time. The beast roars in agony while getting torn in half by the heavy pressure. However, hitting the ground, despair hits hard seeing the student get swallowed. He tries looking for the kid, begging him to hold on just a little longer. Trapped in the disgusting tentacles, the master yells that it's not time to throw in the towel. Feeling the heavy tension, our hero clenches his teeth and decides to step in. Out of nowhere, a rain of tentacles charges to swallow the cornered officer, and right then, Jin tears through the danger like lightning, grabbing the silver-haired old-timer. With massive strength, he yanks the general right out of that deadly danger zone. Right after, tosses the guy onto solid ground far away from the huge monster. The squad hits full panic mode, thinking the world is ending right there. Clueless to it all, the puddle of flesh twists around, getting even more disgusting. Hearing that roar makes the realization hit: the target used to be a normal guy. A dark doubt creeps in about whether his crystal diet will leave him just like that. But stressing out won't save lives. The goal is to crush the slime first. Confident in his own strength, he dodges the strikes while fully locking into combat. Drawing his blade, the hero faces down the endless nightmare of regeneration. Logic dictates that clashing head-on like this will just drain everyone's gas. At this point, the plan is hunting for a weak spot to save energy for the final blow. Way too fast, he shifts into high gear to punish that fang-filled smile. The blade block holds the impact, but the raw strength pushes him backward. Even dragged far away, he plants his feet into the dirt to keep his fighting stance. Seeing he got hit, he lets out an angry curse at the beast's overpowered pressure. Suddenly, a spear tears whistling through the air, piercing the mountain of flesh. It's the captain stepping up to the brawl, spinning his heavy weapon to slice the whips. The big guy roars that the squad is ready for sacrifice, earning the MC's respect. From behind the group, the blonde opens her journal, kicking off a powerful chant. Glowing brightly, she declares the team's weapons will punish the evil in the arena. Thanks to the magic buff, the spears light up, ready to destroy the tentacles. A soldier spots the healing failing and tells everyone to slice it up to stop the merging. Hyped up by the teamwork, Jin roars, feeling the combat adrenaline spike. Flashing an excited smile, he notices the crew fully embraced the fatal mission. Out of nowhere, dark blood drips onto the floor, staining all the grass around. The mage's support weakens the beast's defense and it starts melting alive. But the boy's instinct screams that the target's shape is turning into something else. That mountain twitches, morphing into a face that gives serious chills. Man, right then a massive pressure rises up and the monster takes on a new form. The captain almost falls backward, seeing faces popping out of the beast's back. To make things worse, it's the exact faces of the spoiled rich kids they were protecting. Blinded by rage, the beast fires a barrage of tentacles sweeping through the camp. The chaos gets ugly as it pulls all the dropped flesh to glue back onto its body. An ally screams in anger, warning that the monster is trying to recover its lost parts. Sucking up the chunks, the abomination swells up to double its previous size. With no fear of danger, the protagonist flies in, trying to slash the monster. The monster tries to counter the attack with its giant arm. That hit sends the MC flying backward. Roaring loudly, one of the beast's faces preps a brand new strike. Our MC manages to block the incoming attack with his sword. Upon landing on the dirt, he slides backward, creating a massive safe space. The leader checks on the kid, who warns the squad not to slack off. Asking what the next move is, the captain hears from Jin that the tactic is just keep slicing. At the damage limit, the flesh vanishes, revealing the core that acts as the healing heart. Calming everyone down, the old-timer mentions the troop already memorized the dizzy target's moves. With that confident smile back, the kid approves of the cleared arena. It becomes clear nobody's gonna judge the kid for spamming mana arts with no mercy now. Bathing the steel in a wicked purple, he dashes forward, warning that the party just started. The heavy blade shreds the beast's loose tentacles in a combo impossible to read. Shifting into total fury, the kid slices the target's body at absurd speed. Desperate, the abomination screams while the NC orders everyone to block the healing. Taking damage to the face, the creature's eyes can't even follow the brutal steamrolling. Underneath this rain of rapid slashes, nothing is left intact on that twisted face. The grand finale tears the creature's mouth from side to side, shutting it up for good. With the target defenseless, he raises his sword one more time, aiming right for the core. His cold stare declares the absolute end, guaranteeing everyone that the war is over. Showing zero mercy, he crushes the core and the nightmare slips away, turning into purple dust. Further back, the captain and the squad gasp for air, almost passing out from raw exhaustion. The support and the wrecked general sigh in relief after dodging the worst fate. Split in two, the core drops to the dirt as the remains of this whole demonic mess. Those blue crystals roll across the grass, slowly losing their cursed glow. Finally, the squad lets out a massive victory cheer. Jin turns to the troop, raising his hand and praising the boys' blind bravery. But the peace is short-lived as he frowns, scanning the corners of the woods. Walking in dead silence, he crouches next to the mysterious essences dropped on the dirt. Right then, the lackey comes yelling in pure joy that the arrogant pupil made it out alive. Hidden in the dark forest, a veiled spy watches the camp's celebration. Frustrated by the failure, she curses the genetic flaw of the pathetic rich guy's kids. Holding back angry tears, the villain refuses to accept the trash those test subjects turned into. But the morning ends fast, seeing the outsider gather the pure energy from the floor. The kid scrapes more crystals into his pocket, raising a huge red flag in her head. Sensing something, he looks back and leaves the enemy sweating with fear in the shadows. Hours later, in the dead of night, the MC chills near the warmth of the campfire. Pulling a vibrating core out of the bag, he examines every detail of that pure power. With no fear of dying, he bites into the venomous thing, sucking the overload straight into his veins. The karma's kickback hits deep and he pinches his forehead to tank the bizarre jolt. Out of nowhere, the vision hacks his mind, projecting a guy trapped in the dark. Soon the kid realizes he's watching someone else's memory. In the vision, the veiled woman blames his dad's incompetence for his own demise, and the villain warns that to stay breathing, he needs to prove his worth. Tied up, the rich guy struggles while hearing taunts about being special. She holds up a sketchy vial, ready to test the prisoner's value. Without hesitating, the stranger forces the potion down his throat, spreading dark marks all over. Screams of pure agony echo around while his body morphs. Snapping back to reality, Jin grits his teeth, feeling that heavy mental blow. Brutal nausea hits the kid's stomach right on the spot. He sprints away to get some distance from the camp. With no options left, the MC ends up throwing up everything in the bushes. Gasping for air, he remembers that swallowing these cores can grant extra powers. Except the price is heavy, bringing dark visions and some serious side effects. Now, wiping his face, he figures out the vision belonged to the client's kids. Looks like that bizarre vial was packed with the cursed energy of karma. That raises a massive red flag in his head. Could that mysterious figure be a dark priestess? But Claire shows up, killing the mood, warning that the crew needs to roll out. Looking at her partner, the support finds the cold sweat on his face pretty sketchy. Worried, the girl asks straight up if he's been chewing on more raw cores. Jin even thinks about coming clean, but explaining this madness would be way too much work. To avoid any drama, he plays it off, saying everything's fine, keeping his secret. Deep in the background, the villain spies on the duo fading down the road. The veil drops, revealing an expression full of heavy doubts. Walking chill, the boy just keeps lying to the mage, and the enemy doesn't take her eyes off his back. Completely suspicious. Minutes later, the MC catches up with the captain and the knight to chat. It blows the villain's mind that a core eater hangs with the Order's squad. Smirking slightly, she admits the kid actually caught her attention. The real mystery is whether these two will team up or throw hands in a future. Hours later, the squad surrounds a grave marked by a single sword. Nobody says a word, paying their respects to the boy who fell in the last clash. The holy knight leads a heartfelt prayer to the god of harmony. With a steady voice, he praises his students' massive courage and pure heart. Getting emotional, Raymond asks that the sacrifice never gets forgotten. On the flip side, our MC mourns the loss of such a young rival. But out of nowhere, the old-timer snaps his neck in shock. Widening his eyes, he points up, completely disbelieving what he's seeing. That majestic beast pops up right on top of a massive rock. The famous red wolf glares down at the group from the cliff like a true boss. Shaken to his core, the warrior drops to his knees, praising the heavens. Completely clueless, Jin asks about the whole show, only to hear that it's some divine comfort. Ignoring the wolf's lazy yawn, the veteran breaks down the sacred legend. For the Order, this beast's visit is literally a grieving god's embrace. Except the kid cuts the delusion short by calling the creature a stray, frustrating the old-timer. Jin snaps his fingers right there and calls his pet over to prove the truth. Throwing an intimidating glare, he orders the beast to get down right now. Man, right then the big wolf gets so spooked it completely freezes up. Immediately, the creature leaps off the wall, slicing through the wind. Its smooth landing right in front of the crew leaves the warrior's jaw on the floor. Stuttering, he can't process how some kid tamed an unreachable monster. Super chill, the MC mentions the beast just clung to him after getting bodied in a fight. That casual attitude completely shatters the knight's mind, freezing all his thoughts. In dead silence, he turns his face, trying to process this wild absurdity. Meanwhile, the massive beast sits quietly right next to the sword grave. Getting his posture back, Raymond turns to the boy boy with a special request. The old-timer asks if he'd be down to name the majestic Wolfrex, since the beast is holy. Calling it a stray is a massive insult to them. Adding to that, the fallen pupil's dream of hunting monsters just can't die. To honor the apprentice, he recalls how the kid fought until his very last breath. This heavy legacy could now live on through the claws of this new animal companion. Our boy processes the idea, thinking about carrying the legacy of his fallen rival. Turning to his pet, he asks straight up if the giant accepts the new title. And would you look at that? The big guy shakes his head, actually liking the idea. With that crazy confirmation, the protagonist drops his final verdict. Deal sealed, the name is officially Rex, and the veteran sighs in relief. However, the dry taps of a walking cane slice right through the peaceful moment. The knight turns around tense, having zero clue about the surprise visit mid-morning. Flanked by two monks, a living legend shows up and completely shocks the veteran. Soon the kid catches on to the heavy importance of this authority stepping onto the scene. Bo is easily the biggest living legend in all of the Third Pioneer City. All the mercenaries drop their guard and line up out of pure respect for the old-timer. Getting closer, the entire troop proves just how much clout this old guy really has. In a respectful tone, Raymond drops his greetings and welcomes the big shot. The leader apologizes for crashing such a sad moment, but immediately gets asked why he's here. Straight to the point, he warns he came hunting for answers about the client's tragic demise. Startled, the knight raises his hand, asking for a quick pause in the chat. Inside the warrior's head, that useless suspicion towards the troop was already buried. Our MC swallows his surprise, realizing the guards always take the blame in these cases. Demanding respect, Raymond stands firm on the evidence, and the old man swears it was enough. But there's a dark detail that just doesn't add up in this whole story. Nobody explained yet how normal rich guys turned into monsters of pure negative karma, and that's where it gets crazy. The old guy locks eyes on the kid, sniffing out pure darkness, staring right into the MC's soul. He drops that venomous question in the air. That sends chills down the boy's spine. Terrified by the old-timer's broken radar, the unspoken accusation hits hard that the hero might just be an undercover villain. In dead silence, the two of them just test each other right on the spot. Shortly after, things heat up for real at the famous Ritra Arena in the Third City. Massive crowds of nosy people surround the stone ring, locking down any exit. Keeping up the pressure, the leader points out that warriors like this are born famous. Yet Jin just popped out of the shadows, clashing with legends and crushing everything in his path. The Zarfax just crossed his path directly during this exact cursed mission. Defying all logic, the old man dumps the blame right onto the MC's lap, showing zero mercy. Deep down, the kid gets that overpowered outsiders always strike fear into the crowd. Even so, he stands his ground, warning that throwing hands won't prove his innocence at all. Stepping into the argument, Raymond reminds them the kid is absolutely drained from the last brutal fight. The captain even tries to argue, but the old guy just laughs it off, asking, "So what?" With his arms crossed, he corners their minds about running from the local laws. Outraged, the knight finds this leader's stubbornness a completely sick joke. Jin racks his brain trying to escape this trap without having to body the old-timer. To make matters worse, beating up an old man would look super bad. Reading the kid's mind, the old-timer asks if his age is the problem, and radiating some wild power, the veteran warns he doesn't need any pity. Way too fast. The old guy charges in with monstrous strength. He makes a point to remind him that the elder title was earned through pure raw power, no complaints allowed. The kid can barely track the crack speed of the attack. Showing zero mercy, the master winds up a heavy strike. That brutal impact hits the protagonist dead on. Pushed back by the pain, Jin feels the shockwave shatter his defense. The hit tosses him like a rag doll straight into the campfire. Panicking, Raymond yells that these monks are OP fighters. Right there on the ground, he hears that the old-timer is the top of the food chain. Laughing out loud, the leader taunts the knight for defending the outsider. His mocking tone warns that this jealousy might make him hit even harder. With a massive jump, the monk closes the gap again, ready to strike. A second heavy punch comes in hot to completely crush the kid. Except the hero sidesteps, making the monk punch the wall instead. That leaves the master stunned, shocked by his raw durability. Deep down, the MC curses the pain from the exact same cut opened by the beast. But suddenly, Bizarre steals his attention right away. Magically, the fatal wounds vanished without leaving a single scar. That brutal gash from the previous fight is entirely gone. On top of that, the fresh damage from the old man's punches is closing up on its own. And that's where it gets crazy. It hits him that the cursed core granted full regeneration. A massive, wicked smirk spreads across the kid's face. Calling it a jackpot, he charges in, yelling and turning the tables on the old-timer. Bo praises the injured fighter's wild drive. There was definitely no lack of willpower to keep smashing things right there. However, playtime is over since the kid's strength was already tested. Pointing to the side, the old guy declares the interrogation is moving forward. The master announces he's gonna pull out his mystical third eye. Instantly, a sinister mark lights up on the fabric covering the old man's face. Dropping some philosophy, he claims he blinded himself to see the soul. This absolute vision pierces straight into the target's true essence. Inside his mind, the old-timer tries reading the kid's aura, searching for the truth, and things get dead serious. The whole place is crawling with macabre eyes. Deep down, an invisible command sends the beasts running away. Trapped in that mental world, the old man stumbles backward, soaking his boots. The leader turns pale with fear, shaking from head to toe. Completely terrified, he stutters to himself. No one saw that coming. The MC's head is actually a bizarre abyss. With that, a sharp pain hits the master's chest. Worried, a follower warns that the boss's energy just vanished. Sweating bullets, Bo confesses he's never witnessed such a terrifying mindscape. Despite the fear, the aura's stability proves Jin isn't allied with the darkness. The silence breaks when the hero calls out to the old-timer. Humbled, the leader bows down, begging for forgiveness over the extreme test. Right behind them, a silhouette pops up, breaking the heavy mood. RMC turns around, trying to figure out who's walking up. Politely, the little outsider bows to greet the duo. She introduces herself as Cindy, the heiress to the late rich guy. Minutes later, the crew hits the trail, marching through the woods. Along the way, Bo drops that these monsters are already a routine out there. The girl backs him up, saying the woods and the city became targets for their rot. For a second, Jin wonders if the threat is actually that real. Cutting the thoughts short, the heiress signals the end of the trail. Man, right then the kid freezes, seeing a bizarre giant crystal. That massive rock is a gate, spitting foul energy everywhere. Surrounding the object, the monks pray, begging for the area to be cleansed. They pray non-stop, hoping for a miracle to drop. The guards try throwing holy water at the thing with zero success. Except all this effort is completely useless against the crystal's power. Watching the chaos, Jin figures out that cleaning this mess up is mission impossible. By his logic, the poison should be weak here, which the girl confirms. So, if the plague is already invading their backyard, it becomes crystal clear to the duo how big the real trouble is. Cindy puts her cards on the table, blaming some mysterious mastermind. In the kid's head, the culprit can only be some dark fanatic. Terrified, the client claims the third city is right on the verge of falling. Bo chimes in, warning that the apocalypse is knocking at the door. Nobody doubts the massive walls are gonna turn straight into dust. Because of that, the squad swept the region until they sniffed out the evil rat's nest. Prepping the strike, the final offer finally comes to light. The invite to raid the base in 2 weeks involves an absurd amount of cash. Finally, the whole picture makes perfect sense for the monster slayer. Side by side, the two most VIP clients in the world are begging for his help. This isn't just some random cheap escort mission. Hiding his joy, he realizes his clout finally paid off big time. Hours later, under the cloudy sky, the little mage runs toward the MC, breathing a huge sigh of relief. Worried, she warns that the punishment for treason is extreme pain until the very end. That chills the kid's soul, just picturing the stake. But his friend points to the horizon, cutting his fear short. Staring at their destination, the protagonist's jaw just drops straight to the floor. The gates of Yurgis pierce the sky like indestructible fortresses. Nothing compares to the safe paradise towering right there. Fascinated, he daydreams about buying a house and all that luxury. Snapping back to reality, the kid nudges the holy knight. The veteran's glare cuts like a knife, demanding silence. With a deep voice, he orders a full stop for everyone to catch their breath. Almost instantly, the guards collapse from pure exhaustion. Curious, Jonathan leans in, asking if the legend is heading to the third city. Whining a bit, the captain mourns the hero's sudden goodbye. Jin also enjoyed the team-up and wants to know the mercenaries' next move. In unison, the hustlers promise the night's gonna be fueled by heavy drinking. Wishing them luck, the kid turns his head, focusing on the blonde mage. She complains about having to hunt for a job again just to pay the bills. And the escort payout barely scratched the price for the dream magic tower. Confused by the news, Jin fires back a question, wanting to know what kind of place that is. She admits that despite the mage title, her powers are actually pretty basic. But ambition hit hard, and now her goal is to master elite spells. Deep down, her whole focus is just saving up cash to fund her studies. Jin gets right away that the spot is like a magic college, and he thinks that's awesome. Revving his chin, he pauses to think over the whole situation in dead silence. The support finds this pause super weird, trying to guess what's running through his head. And no one saw that coming. He just casually tosses a massive bag of gold right at her. Playing it cool, he lets her know the cash is gonna fund that magic tower dream. That wild move completely panics the girl, making her try to hand it all back instantly. Stepping in, Jonathan cuts the drama, reminding her that saving their lives already paid for the gift. The captain flashes a huge grin, leaving the blonde girl even more flustered. Completely conflicted, the young mage isn't sure she can actually accept this massive jackpot. Leaving absolutely zero room for a no, the kid just pushes the cash right back into her hands. With a friendly smile, he promises that their paths are definitely gonna cross again. Claire loses her words right there, her face blushing bright red. Utterly frozen, she just holds on to her overwhelming emotions in silence. But acting on a quick impulse, her hand tightly grabs onto her friend's cape. Thanking him from the bottom of her soul, she swears to pay back every single coin, eyes full of pure gratitude. The young mage seals her promise right on the spot. Listening calmly, the hero just takes it in, really appreciating his travel partner's vibe. He gives the crew a wave, telling everyone to stay safe and stay out of trouble. Jonathan drops one last goodbye while steadying his friend who's still on cloud 9. Soon after, the monster's slayer turns his back and hits his own path in pure peace. The entire squad just watches their OP ally fade away down the dirt road. Standing a bit further back, the massive wolf gets right next to the holy knight. Raymond drops his guard, making sure to call the giant pet by his brand new name. Flashing a genuine smile, the old-timer tosses one last proper goodbye to the beast. Right after that wish of luck, Rex sprints after his master straight into the sunset,